Welcome to Focus on Cine Lenses from the buyer's point of view. I'm James Mathers, and I run the Digital Cinema Society. We started hosting this event at the dawn of digital cinematography, when people were trying to find out how to get a more cinematic look on their electronic cameras. And I think we've been doing it now for like 15 years, except for the pandemic, continuously. I'm a cine equipment owner myself, and I need to keep up with what's new, so this is of special interest. Lenses are a big investment, but they have a much longer useful life usually than cameras. I've been through so many cameras I can't tell you, but I still have a lot of the same lenses I've had. As a matter of fact, I had a set of ZEISS primes that I had in the 80s and 90s that I used with my ARRI BL3, and I had them all the way through the red. As a matter of fact, I bought another set when the red one came out because I could tell they were going to be popular, and I only sold them recently, and thank God they multiplied in value because it's getting me through these rough times that we're having now, if I can be quite honest. So lenses have been a relatively safe investment, but with the new formats and so many lenses coming to market, the decision process has become really complicated. That you have coverage area, you know, the speed of the lens, metadata, anamorphic, focus, assist options, and not to mention mounts. There's so many mounts now that the cameras have, and I want to ask you guys about that. You know, how do you decide what mounts to offer? But it's there's a lot of choices, and we have some of the top people in the industry here to answer those questions. So let me introduce them. In alphabetical order of the company name, we have Angénieux. It would be second if you said BandPro, but Angénieux America is part of BandPro. Yeah. We have Art Adams from ARRI. You look pretty sexy in the dark there. I wish it was a little bit more evenly lit. Scott DeWald from Atlas Lenses. We have Mathew Irving from Canon. From Cooke, we have Chris Deanna from Fujinon. We have Stash Terbatz from Infinity Photo-Optical. We have Ed Stam. From Leitz, we have Seth Evans. From Sigma, we have Aaron Norberg. And from ZEISS, we have Jean-Marc Bouchou down at the end. He was with Angénieux for a long time, and he used to be on this side. And my friend Mathew Duclos is going to help with run the Q&A with me. He's from Duclos Lenses. So panelists, we'll go down in order, and please tell me a little bit about your lenses. I'd also like to maybe touch on what separates these highest quality lenses that you all represent from a lot of the new ones that are coming out that are, you know, very inexpensive. Why should people invest so much in quality lenses? I know the answer, but I want to get it out there. So we'll start with you, Randy Weddick, if I didn't say your name before.
Randy Weddick, I'm the CTO of Angénieux Americas. Angénieux is a name that's really synonymous with the cinematic and zoom also, and kind of the company that created or popularized cinematic zooms. It's a company that only makes cinematography lenses. They don't make any other type of product, really. So I've got a couple different lenses here, 2 zooms and a prime. This is a new product here. This is an Easy 3. This is the third in a series of Easy lenses. The idea behind these is that they are flexible. You can change the mount on them really easily if you have access to both your hands. And it comes off in a few seconds. I can show you at the end of when I put my microphone down. But these can be used with a PL mount, EF mount, you know, RF mount. All kinds of mounts can be put on there. And then also, similarly, the user can exchange the rear optical block and change it from Super 35 to full frame coverage. And then you also change out the iris ring and the focal markings. And it can be used kind of in lots of different scenarios. We envisioned it as kind of like a owner-operator lens, but because it has adds like a certain look to it, and it covers full frame. It found its way onto some, really big shoots, kind of against our marketing plans, but it ended up there, and they can be used pretty much, in any scenario. This is the ultra compact. This is our sort of our highest end offering in small zooms here. We are very, very famous for having the Ultra 12 by, which is the successor to the 24 to 290. It's a 12 times zoom lens, but it was too big for me to bring here. It's huge. But if you don't want to, be operating that on top of a head or like a, like an arm or something like that, this is a really nice size for handheld, gimbal operation, that kind of stuff. And this is the difference between the two categories of zoom lenses we make is kind of, there is a lot of improvements that you would see in between these two images on a big screen. The corner sharpness, the mechanical stability of the more expensive lenses. They're designed to be used, taken to the desert, taken apart, put back together, taken to the Arctic, taken apart, put back together, and survive a lot of servicing. And I feel like lesser expensive lenses aren't necessarily designed to be like ripped apart and put back together in the environments that a lot of high-end shoots put these things into when you go to the Atacama Desert or the Arctic or something like that, because when you want to film something, you want to film something interesting, and usually a lot of times the locations that are interesting are dangerous to lenses. So the ability to service mechanical consistency is very high on these lenses. Lastly, we'll talk quickly about the Optimo Primes. This is another, one more thing about the ultra compacts. They are, as like the Easy, they have an interchangeable optical block. They can switch between what they call U35, which is basically ARRI open gate, and then full frame or VistaVision. These prime lenses are another iteration of the idea that we should be able to kind of customize and create different types of imagery. They're designed to be opened by a lens tech and have some optical elements adjusted or replaced on the inside to create different kinds of halation, different kinds of reflection, different kinds of flare that is built in to the inside of the lens and is created when you're actually filming instead of in post.
We're going to have to keep it a little shorter, so if you could hand your mic off.
I spoke really fast.
That's good. Thanks.
Hey everyone, Art Adams from ARRI. So about a little less than 10 years ago, we had an interesting little dilemma. We knew we were coming out with a large format camera. We also had a sensor in development that we knew was going to deliver about 17 stops of dynamic range, 16 or 17, we weren't sure at the time. And of course, that's the Alexa-35. So what we wanted to do is devise some sort of new look that would work really well across both cameras and also with the cameras that are coming next. I don't have any special information about that, but I'm assuming that we're not going to deliver a camera with fewer specs than the Alexa-35, so I suspect it's only going to get better from there. We wanted to make sure that there were no surprises going forward, so if you shoot with these lenses now and at some point you can see HDR remastered in a way that you take advantage of most of the camera's dynamic range, you're not going to see any surprises because you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble depending on what you're doing and what nit value you're delivering your deliverables at. And generally, the more contrast there is, the more you're going to see in a lens. So we tried to figure out a way to make really pretty images that would kind of survive, and that was the signature primes. So they're designed for large format. They were made with the Alexa-35 in mind. The best descriptions I've heard so far from DPs is one DP said they're like looking through a beautiful window. Another DP recently told me he felt they were like very modern at the point of focus, but very vintage when they go out of focus. And what I think he's talking about is that these have exceptional spherical aberration correction. So they roll out of focus very quickly and very, very, very smoothly. There's just no hard edges when they go out of focus. And I found if I'm shooting at a 4 outside, even though the background is soft, it feels softer because those areas of high contrast that might peek through on another lens because of maybe overcorrected spherical aberration, you don't see that on here. Your eye just keeps kind of slipping back to the point that's in focus. Not because it looks sharp, but because it just kind of looks clear. I brought a second little prop because we made these to match. They intercut extremely well. We have 4 zooms. This is the widest one, 16 to 32. We go up to 65 to 300. With 2 intermediates, there's 16 of these lenses from 12 to 280, and they do intercut really, really well. I'm not going to tell you they intercut perfectly because that would be a lie, and we all know that. Zooms are always a compromise, but visually you can intercut these, and they look extremely similar. This will be a little less high resolution, be a little bit more distortion, but the color is going to match, and perceptually they cut together just perfectly. And then last but not least, we've got these rear impression filters. So if I put this on, I have now introduced a bunch of undercorrected spherical aberration. I basically turned it into what looks like an old-fashioned portrait lens. And if I put this one on this zoom, I've now added overcorrected spherical aberration, which gives you donut bokeh like a lot of vintage lenses. And actually one of the DPs we talked to, the guy who said it's like a modern lens of the point of focus and vintage in the background, he calls this his portable K35. I think that's overselling it a little bit, but the look is very similar. You'll get the donut bokeh, and then you'll get a very smooth halo bokeh on this one. And I guess I should stop there. But if you have any questions for me, lenses@arri.com. That's how you find me.
I'm Scott DeWald. I'm the chief lens designer for Atlas Lens. If you want to know the history of Atlas Lens, you can probably find some of Dan's videos on YouTube, but they started out 7 years ago to make an homage to some of the 50s and 60s anamorphic lenses, and I had some experience with Texas Instruments and the original digital cinema projectors designing those monster anamorphics, so we kind of came together with a vision to create this look, and I had to convert that look into aberrations that we could measure and control. So as you know, there's, I don't know, 12 or 13 focal lengths of the Orion series. In fact, the 18 is here. We added an NAB. You can see it at the booth. We also have the 135 T2.6 and the 200 T3.2, which has some seriously short depth of focus. Those are at the booth also if you want to check them on a camera. So that's what we have new for this. Oh, and we have the Mercury series. We have the 95, 138, and 54. They're taking orders, but you can see them on the cameras, and they're beautiful.
Mathew Irving from Canon.
Great, thank you. I'm Mathew Irving. I'm a senior technical specialist with Canon USA. Very happy to be here. Thank you, James, for inviting me. So for Canon, obviously, Canon optics are well known. They bring a warmth, a kind of the cinema optics bring kind of a creaminess to the cinema image. And we basically have a lens for every production, whether it's a live production with our Cine Servo lenses. We have a 25 to 250, our 15 to 120. We have a 50 to 1000. All of these are available at the booth for you to come by and take a look at. We also have our cinema line. We have 3 lines now of our cinema primes, depending on what mount you want. We've got our Cine E, our great EF cinema primes. But we also now have those same optics with an RF mount because Canon is all in with the RF mount. What you gain with our RF mount with those lenses, again, same optics as our EF, but now you're able to have the distortion correction, chromatic aberration correction, these kind of things transmitted through the mount. And of course, we have our Sumi-Ray primes that have been out a few years and have kind of a detuned look when they're wide open, and those are our PL primes. We have our flex zooms, which we're showing off at the booth. We have 2 that are full frame, 2 that are Super 35. The 2 that are full frame are 20 to 50 and 45 to 135 T24s. And then you can also swap out the rear optical block and turn those into the Super 35s, which are 14 to 35 and 31.5 to 95 T17s, which Jay Holben of the ASC has declared the fastest cinema zooms in the history of cinema. So we're pretty proud of those. And we've got our brand new lenses that we're showing, and I hope you stop by the booth to check them out. We've got a 17 to 120 RF. So it's all of the optics that you love from our 17 to 120 servo lens, but we've got a new servo unit on there now. So it's faster focus, faster iris. You've got focus breathing compensation now built into the servo to help out the focus breathing. And those are T29s to 39 that ramp at the telephoto end. And it's built a little differently too. The servo unit is built a little differently so that some of the cables come off at a diagonal so you can set it down easily. And I really do hope you come check it out because it's an impressive unit, and again, with the RF mount. And what you get with our RF mount also now is the ability to carry that metadata through the RF to our Canon virtual protocol also, which can send the Canon lens distortion data through your Ethernet port straight into Unreal Engine so that you have all that distortion information encoded, whether you're doing a live production or post-production where you need to remove the distortion, add visual effects, and then add the distortion back. You have that information coming through the Ethernet from the RF mount. And so we have the 17-120, and we also have, out of the stills side, but it's a hybrid, our new 35mm f1.4 that is kind of a hybrid because it has an independent iris ring like our recent 24-105 f2.8. So a lot of exciting things going on. We're in booth 614, and I hope you'll stop by. Thank you so much.
My name is Chris Deanna. I'm the general manager for Cooke Optics in Burbank. And I'm going to go a little quote heavy. There's a quote I like from Francis Ford Coppola about lenses. It's that nothing has more influence over the beauty and quality of photography than the lens. That was from a book he wrote a few years ago called Live Cinema. And Cooke has been fortunate enough to grow up with cinema. We've been fortunate enough to be right there for the last 130 years. In 2012, we were awarded an Academy Award for helping define the look of motion pictures. And that's a real statue. That's not the other, like the technical Academy Awards, which many of us have, actually. We're very proud of those, too. But what I wanted to do was sort of tie in this idea behind the aesthetics of the lens and their performance and their ROI. Maybe the least sexy part of the industry is that there's a monetary value to all this, and that's the theme of this lens panel, is from the buyer's perspective. And something else I wanted to mention regarding that, another quote was from Otto Nemens. And we should listen to Otto Nemens because he has a rental house the size of a Costco now. But he had told us that he had no products in his inventory that earned more return than his Cooke lenses. And I think that says a lot about the longevity of what we've been putting out, about their performance and value. And when we get that kind of feedback, we know we're doing something right. And so, of course, we don't want to just rest on our laurels as well. We received that Academy Award for helping define the look of motion pictures for the last century, but we want to continue defining that look. We don't want to just repeat ourselves. And so we're heavily invested in metadata and future workflow solutions and how we can tie the new way of filmmaking into the old and how we could bring those aesthetics into new workflows and new mediums. And so we're really looking forward to that, and it's going to be an exciting few years, I think, for everybody in the industry. Thank you.
And Stas Turbats?
All right, thanks so much. First off, Jim, thanks for bringing us all together. This was always a highlight of the show, and I think hugely valuable for everyone here. My name is Stas Durbaz. I'm with Fujifilm's optical device division. So we're the lens division making the Fujinon branded lenses. I just want to quickly review some of our new stuff. We were the first to launch the servo zoom cinema lenses with the Cabrio line. Believe it or not, those Cabrios launched 12 years ago, and they're still out in the field. So speaking to the value and the ROI of high quality zooms in this marketplace, those Cabrios are, they're the same focal lengths, and they're still selling today, which is great. Last year on this panel, we talked about a new set of lenses, servo-driven lenses, which were the Duvos. So when we launched the Cabrios, those were built to appeal most to the cinematographer, and then put that hand grip on the side to add incredible versatility and flexibility in how that lens was used. With the Duvo line, what we're doing is it's still going to be that same beautiful cinematic look that you kind of expect from Fujifilm, but it appeals leaning a little bit more towards the live cinema event that's become hugely more popular now, be it in sports, in concerts, in comedy specials, and all kinds of different applications, in live applications. So when we say appealing more to the live applications, what we're talking about truly is kind of in the core design, the need to have expanded focal ranges, the need to have versatile, very versatile operator usability. And then in the portable lenses, they need to be smaller and lighter weight, to be handheld, but still have those ranges. So last year, hopefully you've all seen the Cinema box lens, the PL mount 25 to 1000. It's a 65-pound lens. We didn't bring it over here today, but it is on our booth. Come by and check it out. It's actually on a ARRI remote head, which is kind of fun to see a big box lens on a remote head. This year, we're showing the little siblings of the Cinema box lens, so the Duvo portables. There's a 24 to 300 over on the booth, and here on my lap, I've got the wide-angle 14 to 100. So with these, again, it was about getting maximum range. There's a little more exposure roll-off. You know, they're not going to hold the T-stop from wide to tele, but you're getting the 24 to 300, just slightly bigger than the one here on my lap. And then this brand new wide-angle, these are the first two samples that are on the booth here at the show are permanent residents of the US now, so they will be staying with us as more samples come online, so we can get them out there, get some pictures shot through them. But this one being 14 to 100, again, it was in the design of this, it was about making it as wide as possible, yet as lightweight as possible. So, you know, these are going to live on people's shoulders, on Steadicam rigs, on stabilized rigs. So having the most range and the lightest weight was what was considered here. These are all new hand grips on here as well, so they've got a lot of that great functionality in terms of all the encoders and the speed of the zoom. They also have 1.5 times expanders. So when we're talking about versatility, that enables us to use these on Super 35 cameras, which is their native image circle, or bump that up to a full frame if you need. If you want to stay in Super 35, you can use it as an extender and get 50% bonus on your range there. So Cabrios continue. The Duvos are great. They're the all-new product. The Premistas, our full-frame pure cinema zooms, are also still out there. And yeah, thanks so much for having me. And we'll move along to Ed.
Ed Stam from Infinity Photo-Optical.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, I'm Ed Stam. I'm the Director of Marketing for Infinity Photo-Optical. We're a unique and specialized company. We make a microscopic probe lens system. This will allow you to have the ability to focus at great magnification from 1x to 16 times magnification. That would take a fruit fly to the size of a full aperture camera, fill the full frame. Many uses for that in creating another world, another experience. We also have special effects lenses that go on the front of this unit. They're 100 millimeter, 50 millimeter, and 35 millimeter. The advantage of these lenses is to create deep focus. We can focus to infinity, and we can hold everything in focus all the way back to 2 inches on one of the lenses. This allows you to do extreme tabletop work where you can fly in and out with a robotic head and arm. You don't have to worry about follow focusing as long as you stay in that bumper zone so you don't cross over the 2 inches. It's great for nature photography, catching a bee, flying into a flower, trying to keep up with the chickens scattering around on the range. Lots of options. This is high resolution, microscope technology. The mount system basically is this focuser. This half, the back half of this lens is the focuser. The front end is where you put the 5 different lenses that come in a little kit called the TS160 kit. Do you mind holding it up for me? I have my assistant here. Inside this little kit, you get 5 lenses. 2 of them do double work, so it becomes 7. There's 2 prisms, a 45 and a 90. There's an extender that goes on the back end here to make it longer so you can work in tighter on tabletop work. The whole kit comes complete, very nice and easy to work with, and we have what's called a T2 mount. Now, I'm not the genius in designing this, but this is something that pre-exists. In the still world, you can buy any still rear mount, so Sony, Canon, whatever, or you can do a PL mount like I have here on the back and it screws on. Very simple to work with. Very lightweight, very low profile, easy to move around. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Next, we have Seth Emmons from Leitz.
Hi there. My name is Seth Emmons. I'm the Director of Communications for Leitz Cine. We're the sister company to Leica Camera. Often our lenses are called Leica lenses. It's just a different branding, but basically the same company. We make one of the widest ranges of lens families. There's only one company on the dais up here that has more lens families than we do. We have 7 sets of primes and a set of zooms. And that can be a lot to deal with. So when you're looking at our lenses, we basically break them down into 3 different categories for their intention from a creative and design perspective. We have lenses that are designed for high performance, where they're very high resolution, edge to edge, clear, no distortion of any kind, no breathing, like designed for cinema. At the other end of the spectrum, we have our legacy lenses. In those lenses, the optics come from Leica photography glass, whether it be the Leica M rangefinder glass in the case of our Hugos and our M0.8 series, or the Talias, which use Leica's medium format glass. And then the third category kind of exists in the middle. We call it our character category for lack of a more specific term, because those lenses are designed for cinematography, so they perform like that. They have a large number of focal lengths, they have a consistent apertures, but we add in some extra character, whether it's flaring, field curvature, things like that. So that's kind of how our products differentiate. One of the things that we focus on, as far as something that buyers should consider, is that all of our products, with the exception of one, are made in Germany. We make everything in Germany, either with our partners at Leica or in our own factory. One product, the M08s, are made by Leica to our spec. The other one's all made in our factory. That allows for very reliable manufacturing. It allows for a lot of consistency. It makes servicing really easy because you're dealing directly with the manufacturer. But it does increase the cost a little bit. And our products are known to be expensive. However, we do actually have a pretty wide range of costs, from rather high to much more affordable as purchasing and rental rates. We use a variety of mounts. We did PL for a long time, as everyone did. But then when ARRI came out with the LPL, we embraced the advantages of that to make smaller, faster, lighter, cheaper lenses. And we also make a few lenses that use the Leica M mount, which is great for like a DJI 4D or smaller rigs, and Leica L mount, which is a standard used by Panasonic, Blackmagic, Sigma, and a few other companies as well. So I encourage you to come by and check them out. There's a lot to look at, a lot to test, and a lot of different looks in there that we offer. So it's not just one thing across the board. It's different things for different projects. Thank you.
Next, we have Aaron Norberg, representing Sigma.
Hey, my name's Aaron. I'm a tech specialist with Sigma. If you're not familiar with the brand, we are a premier lens manufacturer for both photo and video markets. And regardless of which customer base we're designing for, our goal is first and foremost always to deliver the highest possible quality optics to support our creators, our users' creative potential. From the perspective of developing trends from the buyer's perspective, I think the biggest thing that I've seen on our end as a designer and manufacturer, especially as a company that supports both the photo and video markets, is that there's fewer and fewer distinctions between the two anymore. And I think our most recent product really exemplifies this. The 28 to 45 f1.8 full frame for Sony E mount and Leica L mount. It's a lens that's being released first in the art series for photo use, but this lens is clearly designed for more hybrid use as well. The fast 1.8 aperture throughout full frame coverage means you can use this lens to cover a lot of ground without having to have 2 or 3 different primes or slower aperture zooms. It's internally focusing, internally zooming, so it's going to balance very well on a gimbal, not necessarily something that we needed to do for a photo market. And it features aperture control that can be either clicked for photo or declicked for stepless transitions while recording video. And everything that we've been releasing in the last couple of years, it really is blending the lines between what we used to really have hard distinctions between photo and video products and customers. We're kind of approaching everything that we're doing now, assuming that they're going to hit both markets and that our customers are doing more and more of both as they go along.
Next, we have Jean-Marc Bouchou.
Hi, everybody. James, thank you so much for organizing that panel every year. It's really a pleasure to be part of that and to share with specialists here all the ideas about the lenses. So ZEISS, we have been around for a long time. I think we were the first one to provide a lens for cinema because the Lumiere brothers used ZEISS design lens for their camera in the 1890s. You know, our lenses have a legacy. Our lenses have been used for a ton of production. And most recently, we, you know, when full frame came into the market, we designed the Supreme Prime. In 2018, we came with 6 lenses, and we added more. So now we have a total of 25 lenses in the Supreme Prime region, between the regular Supreme, which have a very nice, clean look, and the Radiance. The Radiance were created like after exchanging with several cinematographers here in the US and some renderers like Kessler camera. They wanted to have a specific look, so we were able to create a kind of a unique lens flare, adding some unique coating into internal element. So on the regular Supreme 14 lenses, the last one was the 15mm beautiful lens T18, covering a full frame VistaVision format. So very amazing optical design, and it's really just a lens that a lot of cinematographers who use it are really impressed by it. On the more like affordable lenses, we came with a CP in the end of the 2000. We had like 3 generations of a CP, CP2, CP3. And most recently, we decided to design the lenses for mirrorless camera, taking the advantage of a short frame distance of a mirrorless camera that had like a potential to make lenses better, faster, and more affordable. So the latest one are the Nano Primes. The Nano Primes is a set of 6 lenses. We just announced them a few months ago. I think the first announcement was at Microsalon in Paris in early February. And we just started shipping these lenses a few weeks ago. So these lenses are all T1.5, very fast, very compact. They are, you know, between 2 pounds and 2.5 pounds. They have a beautiful look. They have a very nice, crispy look. They have like the limitation, of course, of being mirrorless. So right now, we have only the option of E-mount, but we are hoping to have additional mount system in the coming months in order to put with different camera option. One of the key things also on these lenses, they have electronics. You probably heard that last year, ZEISS acquired NCAM, one of the pioneers in a camera tracking system. So having metadata is very important because you can really transfer all the data from the lens to the camera system, and that can be used for VFX, that can be used for camera tracking, that can be used for a lot of very important features that are really necessary for future production. So we are really kind of just trying to focus our technology into future development of cinema.
Well, I was afraid that with the industry being a little down that there wouldn't be any big product announcements, but you guys all have something great that's new. So thank you very much. I'm going to turn the questions over to Matt. Matt already has a few, I think.
Yeah, so I'm going to follow up with what we asked earlier. Pretty much between everyone here, practically every mount system is covered. So my question to you guys is, as far as mount standards and the future of cinema, where do you see that going? Are you going to embrace more hybrid mounts, like some of you said, the L mount, the RF mount, or does that seem like backing the industry into a corner, and you prefer the more traditional mounts?
Someone jump in?
Go ahead, Ed, if you're...
Let me jump in real quick if I can. We're trying to cover 2 technical worlds. We're trying to cover motion, digital photography, and still photography. So our system is built around the fact that you can go either way with the lens mounts through the T2 version of a lens mount system. So we seem to think that's the way it's going because we run into people making movies with Sony still cameras, like the 7A, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one of the main reasons that people use a PL mount system is not necessarily that it has like a 52 millimeter flange depth that, you know, is leaving room for a pellicle mirror or something like that. It's just that it's really strong, you know. So like if there are other mounts that are shorter flange depth that are maybe over constructed for still photography, but constructed for the strength of cinema, you know, I think that there's something that needs, you know, there's a lot of room there.
So
Like
robustness.
Robustness, I believe, is, you know, I mean, this is coming from the guy that sells the 12 by. So of course, you know, I'm biased that way. But
That leads us to the LPL. So Art, why don't you chime in?
Yeah, so ARRI invented the PL mount back in the 1980s, and I remember prior to that every camera and every lens had a different mount. It was really exciting. Being a film student back then and going, well, what goes, huh? So PL was a nice standard to settle on, especially since it was effectively, from what I understand, free or very cheap. ARRI basically said, here you go, industry. We've done the same thing with LPL. LPL has a shorter flange depth. We don't need to leave room for a mirror shutter anymore. And the closer you can get that back element to the sensor, the easier it is to make really good lenses. The other thing that happens is if you want to make a lens that's near telecentric, which means that basically the perceived origin of lens rays is farther away from the sensors, so that when they come out the back, they're coming out more parallel as opposed to like that. Sensors don't like light that hits them at extreme angles. The photosites like to be hit as dead on as possible. And you can only do that if the back of the lens is about the size of the sensor. So for large format, it made sense to make the mount wider. So that was the idea behind that. And yeah, we're hoping everyone picks it up. Leitz is heading that direction with their lenses. And you know, we basically, I don't know if we give it away or we license it for €1 or something like that.
And Mathew Irving, I know that you're going with the RF now, right?
Yeah, a lot of that same philosophy went into the RF mount and its short flange distance as well. For all of those same advantages, plus the electronics and the communication capable through the RF mount as well. And RF is just a great endpoint. You can adapt pretty much anything to it. We've got our EF and PL adapters. We were just announcing at the show our Canon PL to RF adapter as well. So it's just because of its short flange distance, it's great to be able to adapt other mounts to it as a great ending point. But yeah, in terms of the short, now that we don't need the mirror to avoid the spinning mirror, it's great to have that shorter flange distance for all the advantages that have been discussed here.
From our side at Fuji, I think in the maybe the higher performing and the heavier lenses, sticking with the PL mount from the robustness and strength perspective is definitely a thing. Additionally, you know, some of these multi-mount systems compromise on the optical performance. From our side, having the purest optical performance as the lens was designed is critically important. So we don't want to compromise that in any way, and having multiple mounts on the back end. The beauty of the PL system as well is, as all these different short flange mounts come online, you can always adapt to the PL mount. So, you know, we have our MK lenses that are short flange, and we do offer those with different mounts, and thanks to some partners like Duclos, even more mounts. But when you design the lens with the short flange, you can't go the other way. We can't put that on a PL mount camera now. So now you're restricting where that lens can work and the versatility of that lens. So for now, certainly on our camera side of our division, we with the GFX system and the X series system, those are all short flange camera systems. So we're kind of a hybrid approach, I guess I would say, at this time.
Mathew, I've been given the 2-minute warning, so let's just go with one more good question.
Okay, again, kind of on the same theme, as the title of the session implies, focus on cine lenses. I want to ask all of you, a lot of you which dabble in both still and cine, is there a downside to, for lack of a better term, repurposing photo lenses for cinema? Or do we see that as just another versatility?
Well, speaking from Canon's point of view, we're trying to eliminate those downsides with our new hybrid series. So we have the new 35 that's a hybrid lens that has an independent iris ring. It has a voice coil motor that is going to eliminate the focus breathing that you have in a lot of stills lenses. So that's the first in a series of hybrid primes we're going to do, and we also had that 24-105 hybrid. So we're trying to take that head on and have lenses that can be used equally well in stills and video while catering to both markets' needs.
How about Aaron? Do you have something to say on that, Aaron? Because you do both.
Yeah, I'd say it's been pretty similar for us. There were, I'd say, more trade-offs with especially larger flange distance lens designs. Things that just were not a consideration in the photo market when a lens is put together can be very important for people using that lens in a video crowd. And so our solution to that has been to try to design the lenses from the ground up for to be better applied to both, so that there are fewer compromises if you're trying to take the lens from a photo housing to, say, a video application.
I got something to say about this.
Go ahead.
Do not shoot narrative cinema with photo lenses. In narrative,
Hot take.
that might just be it. Imagine, say, a musical with extreme amount of movement and blocking and changing focus. That's where you're going to see all your breathing. And all the trouble that a photo lens is going to give you on a motion picture set is going to show itself once you start following your actors, once you start a traditional narrative cinema setup. Now, if you're shooting a talking head, not a lot of change in focus, sure, you can get away with it. But cinema lenses serve that purpose. It's for motion picture capture. So I strongly recommend using motion picture lenses for motion picture capture.
Do you think that that also makes a clear definition between a photo, video, and cine lens? So, for example, shooting narrative, I would consider that cinema, not necessarily video.
Well, you can. I mean, you could sneak a shot in. Sure. I mean, like you can do a mix. I mean, I think an extremely talented cinematographer can take a mix of our products and make them match, make them look really damn good too. And we would be floored, be like, I didn't know that crosscut so well.
I think it's fair to say that not all photo lenses are created equally either.
Very good
So
point.
you can cherry pick some photo lenses that might make that transition well, but others would not.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap it up now. I'm sorry, we
Yeah,
haven't
there
heard
are-
from
there
you,
are
so
some-
go ahead, Scott.
Yeah,
I wanted to fight Chris.
yeah. There are some fairly low breathing photographic lenses out there, and Atlas has recently filed 2 patents for unique anamorphic focusing systems that would adapt nearly any photography lens to an anamorphic 1.5 to 2x squeeze. So to say that those have no value, I think is there's a lot of work that went into those lenses in the first place, and there's some really interesting designs that could be easily made into really nice anamorphic lenses.
Well, they have extreme value for photographers. I love Leica
made
lenses.
valuable to
Okay, okay, we're going to have to take this fight out to the parking lot.
Stay tuned for part 2 of the panel.
And I'm sorry we didn't get to take any questions from the audience. These guys will be around. Go to their booth, catch them after the panel here, and they'll be happy to answer your questions. In the meantime, I'd like to thank everybody by name. That would be Randy Uedick from Angénieux, Scott DeWall from Atlas, Art Adams from ARRI, Mathew Irving from Canon, Chris Deanna from Cooke, Stosh Derbads from Fujinon, and Ed Stam from Infinity Photo-Optical, Seth Emmons from Leitz, Aaron Norberg from Sigma, and Jean-Marc Bouchou from ZEISS. I'd also like to especially thank Mathew Duclos from Duclos Lenses, and our volunteer crew. That would be our DP, Cameron Cannon, and camera operator, Mitch Gobin, and Christopher Nell, who does everything else. He's watching the sound. He's going to edit this, and we also thank Cine Gear Expo for having us here. Thank you for coming.